Let's continue building the antenna. So now we've got it set up. We have our two curves all set, and these are going to become our rail curves. We're going to make this antenna using the two rail sweep. So we're going to a perspective viewport, and now I'm going to draw a cross section for this curve, and it's just going to be a round cross section. And instead of using our normal curve from center command, I'll hold down this triangle, and I'll choose our curve diameter command. Now making sure my end snaps are on, I'll zoom in just a little. I'll click once for that end, and again, get an end snap and click. So now we have a circle drawn that's exactly as wide as those two rails, and I know that it's snapped at the very ends of those rails. Now I can go into Surface, sweep two rails, select both of these curves as my rail curves, and then this circle is my cross-section curve. I can hit Enter, and then Enter again, and I like to just kind of zoom around and helicopter around here, just have a look whenever I make anything to make sure it looks right. That all seems good. So let's hit OK on that. So now we have our main antenna created. Sort of the setback of using a rail sweep is it doesn't automatically cap this for us, and that's okay because this gives us a little more control of what we're going to do. So just as we looked at two ways to make the main antenna body, we're going to look at two different ways we can cap this. So anytime you want to cap something, we could select this and we could choose a solid, cap plane or holes. That's just going to give us a completely flat cross section. That's not what we want at all. We have a couple of options. We can go to Surface, and we can choose Patch, and that's also available under our toolbar menu, and that's this icon here. And we'll select the very top edge. I'll hit Enter. We have some options here, and the options that are available to us are going to give us different surfaces. So if I hit Preview at the moment, we get kind of a nice looking surface. If I change some of these parameters up, we can change the shape here. So I'm going to cut down the number of U and V spans on here, and that's going to be how many sections are cut through here. If I hit Preview, you'll see that softens up the shape quite a bit. One thing to note is I do have the Adjust Tangency checkbox checked. So what that's trying to do is any surface coming off of here is making it tangent to this edge. And now that I've increased our U and V spans, you'll notice what it does next time I click Preview. So now it's starting to kind of flatten that out just a little bit. So it's able to come off of here tangent and then kind of turn the surface. So if I make that a little larger of a number, I'll hit Preview. Notice now, because there's a lot more sections, it can actually come up and then bring that surface kind of flat. If I were to take tangents off and hit Preview, it's just going to make a completely flat surface across there. So that doesn't give us the surface we want. Let me try backing that back to 10. That looks pretty good. I'll hit OK, and then let me select Join. And notice when I do this, that's not able to join these two together. This edge doesn't perfectly match this edge. And that can be very common using the patch command. You will see that quite a bit. And the way around that with the patch command is to increase the U and the V. Unfortunately, with a round like this, when you increase the U and the V, as you notice, you get that shape that starts to come back in. So patch command won't work for us in this instance. So what we're going to use is the blend command. And the blend command can be found under here, and it's right there, just blend surface. Or I can go to Surface, and I can select blend. Now before we can use this command, we have to do one other thing. The blend surface wants two directions to work. And if I click on blend surface right now, you'll notice that it just goes around the whole edge. It treats it as one piece. So that's not going to work for us. So let me hit escape on that. Now splitting the edge doesn't hurt the actual surface at all. We're just telling the surface to have a split into it. So I go to Analyze, Edge Tools, choose Split Edge. I'll select this edge, and it's going to select the whole thing because right now it's just one edge. And because we built this with two rails, we have two very nice things we can snap to. So I can snap right to the end of that line and click, and I can snap right to the end of this line and click. And nothing really happens visually when I click on those. You'll see the command line jump a little bit, but nothing else happens to let you know something's going on. So I just hit Enter, and now when I go to Surface, Blend, you do want to go up to your command line, and typically auto chain is set to yes. Any edges that are next to each other and they're tangent to one another, it'll just automatically select. So in this case, let me just show you. these two edges, even though it's two edges now, they are tangent. So if I click on one, it's going to automatically grab the other one. Let me hit escape. I'll hit spacebar to reapply the command. This time I'll switch auto chain off. I click, and there's that edge. Notice it didn't automatically chain itself this time. So that's my first edge. I'll hit enter, and now it's asking me for my second edge, which is going to be this edge here. I want to be careful, and I want to make sure I pick it near where I picked the other edge. So this first edge I picked right in this area. So I want to pick this second edge in about the same area. If I pick it over here, it's going to try and invert these surfaces. So I'll click here. I'll hit enter. And notice right away it's showing me a preview. You may not have that. Yours may look like this. So you can just go ahead and switch on preview. And we can kind of play around with the different surface types here. So there's curvature, there's tangent, curvature. I'm going to click on this padlock. Move this window over here a little. So I've got the padlock selected, and what that does is when I drag one of these sliders, it locks the other slider so it does the same thing. And notice I can now interactively drag this around. So if I go into my front view and zoom in on this area here, I can get an idea of kind of what's going on. And I want something about like that. I think works out pretty well. So I can hit OK. I'll jump back into my perspective view. I'll hit join, and I'll select this and this. I'll hit enter. So we almost have our antenna finished. Right now it still has a hole at the bottom, and I don't want that. I want that to be sealed. So I'll select the antenna, and I'll go to solid, cap planar holes. And because that was a nice planar circle that we started with as a cross section, it's able to close that shape up for us. And now that's made our antenna, it's nice and complete, and it's also a nice watertight solid.